Welcome to Cathe TV. We're going to be doing our STS check-in now. Now, most of us are doing the program together, and if you are, we've just completed discs 4, 5, and 6, and we're moving on to 7, 8, and 9. So what I'd like to do today is review those discs we just did, look to the future of what we can expect, and then take some question and answers at the end. So, how did you do on 4, 5, and 6? Well, disc 4 was chest, shoulders, and biceps, and we had the drop set push-ups. I don't know about you, but started out with 14 and then going to 12 and then to 10, hanging okay. And suddenly when it got to 8 and 6, you think, wow, we just have so few left, but they were really hard at the end, weren't they? And then we also had the seated shoulder front press. Now, I'm mentioning that because we did have some questions come up, so I am going to highlight that after and just go over some hand positions for you. We also had the functional overhead press, which I'm going to show you a demonstration on because I want to show you an option you can use to make that comfortable for you if you're starting to get tired. And then one of my favorites in this particular disc was the barbell curls with the band. They are so hard, aren't they? I mean, I don't think it gets any harder than that. That band really makes a difference in that movement. And we also have disc 5. We did back and triceps. And in that one, the highlight for me, which I really felt, was the seesaw push-ups. Now, if you're really doing that accurately and you're on the ball and you lower your body down so that your legs are higher than your arms, putting that resistance on your arms and upper body, your triceps are going to fire. And when we got to those partial reps, that's probably right where it kicked in and you knew exactly what I was talking about. So going real slow and controlled and contracting those triceps as you're doing that motion is golden. And then of course we had the chin-ups. They're self-explanatory, always very hard. And the kickbacks with the band probably brought you a new surprising fire as well, especially after doing the other version with the dumbbells. You can really feel a difference adding that band in there to fire them. Now, disc 6, we had legs. As you know, we had some new variety in there. Low pulse lunges, how about those? At the very base of the lunge, you probably wanted to stand up and just be done with it, but you should have gone down for that last portion of the lunge and then gotten out of it. So I won't tell if you didn't do it, but if you didn't, try to make sure you do it next time. We also had the wall squats with the leg extensions. That was a neat little surprise. Throwing the leg extension in there probably got you a little bit off balance and you had to fire your leg muscles in addition to your core. So that's all good stuff as well. Of course, paper plates were back to bite us, and we had the sit-and stands. And I'm going to highlight sit-and stands as well because I think we had a question even from Becca from them. But I just want to point them out anyway. So let's look at that. I want to make sure that when you're talking about sit-and stands, the main thing is that the height is right. So I know sometimes you have your high step out, and rather than pull out a chair, you might say, let me just use my high step. Well, even just 4 and 5 risers on the high step, as you can see there's 4 right here, even going to 5 is not the height of a chair. And when it comes to sit-and stands, it's really important that you are at least at the level of a chair height so it's not stress on the knees. And so in this case, I obviously am on a chair, so I'm going to show you how when you're just sitting right at the chair, the hip level is still slightly higher than the knees, and that's the key to make this less stressful on the knees. And then obviously, if you grab a dumbbell here and hold it, you can take whatever dumbbell is comfortable for you with your 1 rep max there. You have that all calculated. You're going to engage your core and you're going to just put your weight on. Now the first few out of the gate are a little unstable because you got to get the feet right and feel the whole thing. But once you're in your groove, it should feel really nicely. You're going to engage your core and you're going to come up and down. Now you don't want to fall into the chair. You just want to go down. So you'll see my knee even trying to stabilize and fire and balance, and the core is working as well. And then, of course, as I get going, it's much easier to control. So let me review. The height is where you want to be. You want to really key into the height, and then you want to key into the core. Now, for those of you who can't do sit-and stands at all and you're just finding they're completely uncomfortable for you, what you're going to do as an option is take the dumbbell. You're going to just place your hips back as if you're sitting down as far as you comfortably can. Those of you who have any knee troubles, obviously the hip angle will be higher than the knee. If you have no troubles, you're going to sit down lower. Put most of your weight on the leg that's on the floor, 10% on the leg in the front, And that's the ratio you want right there. So 90 on the support leg, 10 on the leg that's just assisting a little balance. And you're going to just press down like this. And you're just going to do a set like this. And actually, your set is going to be the same duration of time that those of us who are doing the sit and stand stay on one side. And then we switch legs when we're doing the sit and stand. So those of you doing this exercise as a modification will have one leg in front and do the pulse along with the same time that we're doing the one leg for sit and stands. And then you will switch just when we switch. So we'll be doing two different exercises to the same amount of time. Okay, there's another exercise that I want to highlight, and that's a seated overhead press. So you'll take your barbell, and you're going to sit down in a chair, safely bring the weight up and to the collarbone. Now the main thing with a seated front press is that your elbows do not flare out to the side. Sometimes I'll see people just interpret this movement as the elbows out and pushing like this. And what you want to do is watch my elbows now. They're coming in. They're slightly wider than shoulder width apart, my hands on the bar that is. And now I'm going to push from the collarbone up into the air as if I'm putting something on the top of a shelf. So it's not directly over the head. It's just slightly to the front and pushing up like this. Now, for any reason you're finding discomfort in your shoulder for this exercise or any overhead press, well, actually, let me just exit this here safely like that, okay? So that's what you do to exit. Now, if you're feeling any discomfort for any reason when you're doing an overhead press, whether it's out with the arms wide intentionally as an overhead press or a front press like I just showed you, is to keep the hands in this position. Because this position is your anatomical natural arm position, and it takes less stress on the shoulders. So doing anything with your hands in this position is the way to go if you feel shoulder stress. Okay, now, I'd also like to highlight the functional overhead press movement, because in class I see some people kind of rotate like this, and they just sort of throw it and go to the front and let the back hyperextend. So that's not getting you any effective work there. So what you want to do is stay controlled. You want to rotate the hip, put the weight straight up and down like you're putting your hands in your pocket, up to this side, and down like you're putting your hands in your pocket. Then when you come to the front and you do your double arm raise, you need to make sure that your core is engaged and you lift the arms right to shoulder height. So it's not a motion like this. All right, and the motion onto the side shouldn't just be like throwing the hand weights down like this, because this is many times what I see is just sort of getting it up there and then just throwing it. So here's the clean version: up and down, and then engage the core and make the front extensions nice and clean. Now, if you're starting to fatigue toward the end of the set, you have the option of going up and down, up and down, and then just doing a one-arm front raise, alternating like that versus both arms kicking up. Okay, so those are things to keep in mind. Okay, now let's move forward and look at next week's workouts.